During my first presentation, I will be attempting to establish the concept of aid and development whilst identifying organisations which explore both concepts. To start with, aid comes in two forms, aid and international aid. Humanitarian aid describes aid as being short-term assistance to which usually happens within disaster zones. This is then a response to incidents and events which help to save lives and limit casualties. Whereas international aid involves grants and loans from more developed countries to the developing countries, which then promotes economic development. However, both types of aid are created by different forms, such as humanitarian foreign aid, subsistence foreign aid, military foreign aid, bribery, prestige foreign aid, and foreign aid for economic development, with the most common forms being humanitarian, economic, and military aid according to Humanitarian Aid 2021. Within the UK, Red Cross are a humanitarian aid charity who provide for victims who are involved in unfortunate obstacles and require assistance. And on a broader view, the World Food Programme is formed by the United Nations who help to deliver humanitarian aid to also those who are struggling and need assistance. On the other hand, development is a long-term factor which occurs up in developing countries which respond to systematic problems which could be political, social or economic. According to Humanitarian Coalition 2021. When it comes to development tends to come from those countries who have a higher economy. Taking things back within history, within Britain, the beginning of development occurred amongst the British Empire. And according to the BBC Bitesize, the British Empire is in fact a group of countries who are ruled by a single monarch or ruling power. Therefore, the Britain was the ruling monarch which imperialised countries and continents such as Australia and Africa. From the 1600s and onwards, Britain began to imperialise land overseas, leading to the British Empire controlling a fifth of the world land. This generated cultural power. Cultural power is when the imperialist countries carry their beliefs into colonialised countries, which forms a division of colonial social order. As time went on, the British Empire brought their political and economic beliefs to colonialised land, which then provided development opportunities. However, once the World Wars began, the British Empire weakened due to the economic impact, forcing countries such as Ghana to become independent. Due to the want for independence and in the 21st century, the size of the British Empire has shrunk. This forms post-colonialism. But due to the impact of the British Empire being so significant, countries gain the opportunity to become more economic development due to the British forming new ideas, enhancing overseas industry and carrying their beliefs and values to different countries. Moving on from the British Empire and onto the Cold War, countries again were divided due to political beliefs. However, the US formalised the Marshall Plan as a way to develop Western Europe so that Western democracy continued to offer support. During the Marshall Plan, the US placed $13 billion into Western Europe, along with the shipping of food, fuel and machinery, as the US used strategic development as a way to contain the growth of the Soviet Union. This then represented power of the US due to their war success, according to History 2021. The strategic development formed from the plan helped to create the Europe we know today, but people view the Marshall Plan as both an act of aid and development. But without the Marshall Plan, Europe would be very different. Moving on to this very day, many countries have gained more independence and are more economically developed, but colonialism still exists today. In fact, the United Nations identified neo-colonialism with 16 countries and nearly 2 million people still living under colonialised rules. An example of this is the US, UK and France still use their economic power to control and influence countries like Iraq to dictate the outcomes of current wars. Moving away from colonialism, the use of organisations help within the development of countries. Starting with a governmental organisation is also known as a GO and can also be referred to as a government agency. Governmental organisations are government-appointed groups which can either be permanent or semi-permanent and are also created by national government or state government within a federal system. A few examples of a governmental organisation are the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, NORAD, and the Swiss Development Agency. Focusing specifically with the Department for International Development / the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. This GO is based within the UK, which works alongside 12 agencies and public bodies to promote the interests of British citizens, along with safeguarding security, defending the UK values and reducing poverty. With the 12 agencies, the GO brings together the international efforts from Britain, allowing them to act as a force for good in the world. Alongside the Department for International Development, with the work from this governmental organisation, they have formed UKAID, who work on a small and medium-sized scale. UKAID aims to strengthen global peace, security and governance, strengthen resilience and response to crisis, promote global prosperity, tackle extreme poverty, helping those most vulnerable, and deliver value for money, in order to help and support the world's aims and needs. Moving on to non-governmental organisations, these are referred to as an NGO. And according to VACIL 1997, an NGO is defined as a self-governing, private, non-for-profit organisation that are geared to improving the quality of life for disadvantaged people. This shows that without government leadership, NGO aim to benefit those in need without the possibility of profit or personal income. Some examples of an NGO are Amnesty International, who fight for justice, Greenpeace, who aim to protect natural land, and the International Committee of Red Cross, who look to aid those in need. Focusing on Amnesty International, they aim to protect those who fight where justice, freedom, truth and dignity are denied. Within the NGO, Amnesty have over 7 million people who are currently fighting for the right to protect people in care homes during the coronavirus pandemic. This is resulted by helping those in care homes by preventing and putting things into place to avoid further upset or disaster. Moving on to intergovernmental organisations, these are also referred to as an IGO. An intergovernmental organisation is when two or more governments come together to solve world problems. Vogel et al. 2008 also describes an intergovernmental organisation as something created by organisational structure and autonomy which provides formal and ongoing decision-making between states with the capacity to execute the collective will of their members. Some examples of an IGO are the World Health Organization, UNICEF and the United Nations. The United Nations are created by world governments who are made up of General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, International Court of Justice, Trustee Council and the Secretariat. All of these 6 sectors carry out their own responsibilities and duties, and from this, the sectors work together towards achieving 5 main goals, which are: maintain international peace and security, protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, uphold international law and promote sustainable development. Both the sectors and the goals are what come together to identify what the UN are, and without these parts, the UN wouldn't be effective. With the work of the UN, they created the Millennium Development Goals, which are also referred to as the MDGs. In 2000, these 8 goals were given a 15-year time length for them to be achieved, and due to the significant work from the organisations, the MDGs were able to lift millions of people out of poverty, empower women and girls, improve health and well-being, and provide a vast new opportunities for better lives. Due to the significance of the MDGs, in 2015 the UN formalised the Sustainable Development Goals, which are also referred to as the SDGs. The SDGs were given another 15-year time length to be achieved, which instantly required urgent call from all countries of all levels of development to come together to call for the end of poverty. Throughout the presentation, aid and development have played a part in a lot of things. We have clarified that aid is short-term, whereas development is long-term, and historical factors like the British Empire and the Cold War have shown significant impact of development. From this, we have established how organisations are all involved with meeting world goals in order to make the world a better place. Throughout the next presentation, I will be exploring what sport for development is and how exactly sport is used within organisations like Right to Play to meet world goals.